When he opens his eyes, treasure hunter Nate is hanging outside down from a line of cargo boxes that are also hanging from an open plane. He makes his way up as he fights off various mercenaries and manages to climb into the plane again, but as soon as he gets inside, a red car pushes him back out, as he falls to his death. 15 years earlier, young Nate and his older brother Sam sneaked into a museum in Boston. Unfortunately, as soon as Sam tries to pick the lock, he triggers the alarm and they're caught by the police. The boys are taken back to the orphanage and Nate gets to stay, but because this is Sam's third strike, he must be taken to prison. They give the brothers a moment alone to say goodbye, so Sam takes advantage of this to escape. Before leaving though, later, which he uses to reveal a hidden message with words of love from Sam. Back in the present, he gives Nate his beloved ring to always be with him. Day, Nate now works as a bartender in New York. He also pickpockets rich clients by getting close with random excuses, like helping a girl light her cigarette in order to steal her bracelet. Nate still carries his brother's lighter with him, although it isn't working very well these days. One night, while he's closing the bar, a man called Sully approaches Nate and congratulates him on his pickpocketing skills before offering him to join him on an incoming important job. Nate isn't about to start doing crime with a stranger and kicks him out, only to then discover Sully took the bracelet from his pocket and left his card instead. Wanting the bracelet back, Nate goes to the address on the card, sneaking inside the apartment. By stealing the keys from the doorman, Sully's already waiting for him, and to Nate's shock, he's in possession of the original Magellan's map. Nate comments on the legends that say the original trip had been planned to find gold, and Sully confirms it's true. The trip had been funded by the Moncada family, and the current heirs, Armando and his son Santiago, are still looking for that treasure. To help him convince Nate to join him, Sully mentions he was a friend of Sam's, and even shows him a picture of his adult self. Apparently, Sam disappeared after they found Magellan's journal. Turns to his apartment, he opens a box he keeps with important memories, which includes postcards from Sam. Nate lied to Sully when he said his brother never contacted him again. He also finds the ring. Need to steal this one to get started. After demanding Sully to go 50-50 on the gold, Nate of the auction, Sully and Nate see a valuable red car and find out Santiago is also there. So there will be tough competition for the cross because he thinks the gold is his birthright. He isn't alone though. He's employed mercenary leader Joe, who used to be Sully's partner and teases him when she sees him. As the auction is about to start, Sully pretends to be one of the buyers while Nate gets the plan ready. Joe notices him moving suspiciously and sends her men to keep an eye on him. By putting his gum on the digital lock, Nate manages to get inside the electrical room. The idea is to cut power so that Sully can steal the cross in the dark. Because Nate's taking too long, Sully finds himself with no other choice but to start bidding against Santiago, even if he doesn't actually have the money for it. Unfortunately, Nate is found by Joe's men and a fight begins. After exchanging a few blows, Nate runs out of the room and decides to cause a distraction by jumping on the hall's ceiling lamps. Now everyone is panicking and the cross is being taken away, so Sully turns his jacket around and pretends to be one of the workers. As Nate is found and chased by security, Sully puts his hands on the cross and takes it away, saying he's in charge of taking it to the vault. But Joe notices this and goes after him. She manages to corner him and threaten him with her knife. But at that moment, security finds them and tries to arrest her for attacking an auction employee. Sully gets to go away with the cross while Joe fights the guards. When Sully makes it back to his car, Nate is waiting for him, and they agree to go to Spain together. On the plane, Nate gets to look captain's journal that confirms the legend. Magellan found tons of gold in the Philippines, hid it in Barcelona. Once they arrive in Barcelona, they meet with Chloe, another treasure hunter that has managed to acquire the other cross. However, she doesn't want to work with Sully, who she considers to be a liar and a backstabber. After she leaves, Nate discovers she took their cross with her and chases her through the streets of Barcelona. Chloe is faster though, and she makes it to her car, ready to escape. Nate and Sully don't give up and convince her to stay by pointing out she may have the crosses but they have the journal, symbols and words carved on the floor and walls. The trio finds a secret button that Nate presses to open a hidden painting behind a Mary statue. When Nate turns it around and puts a tracker on his phone, now Sully can follow their movements, unaware that Joe is following him too. Nate and Chloe follow a mysterious tunnel that eventually takes them to a nightclub, and Joe's men are there too. Distraction, they need to work on the puzzle carved on the wall behind the bar. Joe's men find them anyway, causing Nate to get in a fight with them until Chloe finally finds gets to escape right before it closes again, leaving Joe's men behind. following this tunnel. Takes the duo to a secret door under a fountain, and when they use the key on it, the room begins filling with water. Sully needs to use the cross on the hole above the ground to save them. But the keyhole is behind thick protective glass. While he begins working on breaking the glass, Joe shows up to steal the cross and a fight ensues. At first, it seems Joe has the upper hand, but with one quick movement, Sully turns the tables and throws Joe against the glass, finally breaking it. Then, Sully puts the cross on the keyhole and opens the secret door so the duo can escape. But only Nate comes out. When he notices Chloe has passed out underwater, Nate goes back for her. And once they're both out, Chloe is shocked to see she's been helped which allows them to find a map among the salt. Nate takes note of a route that goes from Spain to the East Indies, but before he can discuss the possibilities, Chloe takes out her gun and demands that he hands the map to her. Nate tries to make a deal with her, but Chloe just tells him he doesn't know the full story of what happened to Sam before knocking him out and running away with the map. Moments later, Sully wakes Nate up, and Nate demands to know the truth. Sully explains Sam didn't ghost him, he's just gone. They had reached the captain's tomb together and found the journal, but on their way out, they were attacked by Joe and her men. Santiago and his team get things ready at his private airport, including his beloved red car, which Nate and Sully take advantage of to sneak inside by hiding in the trunk. After looking at the map and deciding their trajectory, Santiago offers a speech about how his family had been betrayed and how he will restore their honor, but Joe interrupts him by killing him. Chloe gets scared and tries to escape, so while Joe and her men go after her, Nate can't help confronting Joe to ask her if she really killed Sam. Sully jumps away with a parachute as Nate finds himself in a fight with the men while the cargo is pushed off the plane. Taking us to the beginning of the story. Joe's men find Chloe and engage her in a gunfight, which would make her difficult for her to escape by parachute as well. Instead, she decides to get inside the car and drive it off the plane, so when Nate climbs back inside, it's Chloe that pushes him out again. But she's also the one to grab his hand and guide them to safely land in the middle of the sea. Chloe prints a map that follows the book. Since the lighter still won't work, Nate uses a candle to reveal a secret message on a postcard telling him to use the crosses as a compass. Nate does exactly that and finally discovers the location of the gold. Writing the coordinates on a piece of paper before going to bed too, takes a motorboat to the cave indicated by the coordinates, unaware that Joe sees him from afar while looking around the wrong place. Through an underwater tunnel and comes out inside another cave where both of Magellan's ships have been hidden all these years. As Nate finds the gold inside, Sully shows up in the cave as well. Thanks to the tracker he still has in his phone, he tells Nate that Sam would be proud of him, but before they can discuss things any further, Joe and her men show up, so the duo hides inside a secret. Her men jump into Nate's ship and begin a fight, thus Nate beats them up and gets to steal some guns from them. He also finds some gunpowder lying around. Sully guides the helicopter through a narrow passage between cliffs to lose the chasers, but Joe is waiting for him at the other end, so he has to pull a very risky maneuver not crash against them. But this is only a temporary dodge. Joe and her ship are still coming after them, inspiring Nate to take extreme measures. Using the gunpowder he found, Nate puts a ball inside the ship's cannon. And after a few failed tries, he manages to make Sam's lighter work and fires the cannon at the other helicopter. Joe jumps off the ship before it crashes against a hill with the helicopter on fire. Nate and Sully think they've won, but it turns out Joe has jumped onto their ship and is now releasing the anchor to keep them from escaping. It's obvious that the ship won't hold for long, and Joe and Nate exchange a few blows before Nate begins climbing the chains to reach the helicopter. His bag of gold by throwing it at Joe, causing her to fall into the ocean. Then, Sully helps Nate into the helicopter right before the chains finally break and the ship falls on top of Joe and Nate. Figures they can dive for treasure later, but this won't be possible. The Philippine naval units are approaching, so the treasure will end up in hands of their government. As the duo flies away, Sully laughs when he sees Chloe trying to follow them on a motorboat, but he also laments the lack of treasure. However, Nate surprises him by showing him the gold he's managed to hide in his pants. Meanwhile, in a prison in the middle of nowhere, Sam writes Nate another postcard telling him to watch his back. Months later, Nate meets with an agent working for a man named Roman, who is interested in his ring and wants to exchange it for a Nazi map. The agent tries to betray Nate by taking both the ring and the map, but Sully shows up and creates a distraction so Nate can recover both items. As the duo leaves together, they're caught by an unseen person. English. All related. From Movie For You.